Only one day after an NFL player was charged with first-degree murder, we are now seeing reports of another former NFL player by the name of Philip Adams, who has been identified as the suspect that left 5 people dead and after a standoff with police, ultimately ended up killing himself as well. These reports come from Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is the hometown of Philip Adams, a former NFL player who attended Rock Hill High School, went to South Carolina State University, a South Carolina guy through and through. He was selected in the 2010 draft in the 7th round as the 224th overall pick by the San Francisco 49ers. He would then bounce around the league, playing for 5 more teams until he eventually fell into obscurity and was out of the league altogether. And 6 years later, at the age of 32, he has been identified as the gunman who killed 5 people, including a prominent doctor in South Carolina. And if that's not tragic enough, he also took the lives of the doctor's wife as well as the doctor's 2 young grandchildren. The shooting took place at the doctor's house, and there was also a 38-year-old male victim who was an employee at the house who was also found shot to death, as well as a 6th victim who was rushed to the hospital with quote-unquote serious gunshot wounds. Dr. Robert Leslie was a well-known doctor in the Rock Hill, South Carolina area. He is the founder of Riverview Medical Center in Rock Hill, and it's been a staple in the Rock Hill area for years. Leslie had worked for decades as an emergency room doctor, board certified in both emergency medicine and occupational medicine, serving as emergency department medical director for nearly 15 years at Rock Hill General Hospital, according to his website. Some notable patients of the slain doctor was Alonzo Adams and his son, the former NFL player Philip Adams. The police were called to the Leslie's home around 4:45 p.m. and they evacuated all the neighbors and started searching for hours for a suspect. Allison Hope, one of the neighbors, was let back into her home around 9 p.m. and only moments later a vehicle pulled into their driveway and law enforcement quickly surrounded the property. She said they spent hours negotiating with Adams, using a loudspeaker, sending in a robot to scan the house, as authorities repeatedly asked Adams to come out and promised to get his disabled mother out safely right before Adams took his own life, via the Associated Press report. This should be a serious wake-up call for the NFL and how they handle the mental health of not only their current players, but more importantly, their retired or former players. There's been far too many instances with former NFL players, even just in the last couple of months, making drastic, fatal decisions because of how much their mental health had deteriorated. There was Vincent Jackson a couple of weeks ago, and even just yesterday, there was the Travis Rudolph situation, and now here we are with 5 innocent people dead, including 2 young children, ages 5 and 9. Even though Adams didn't end up contributing a whole lot in his time in the NFL, he was still on 6 different NFL rosters. And we always hear people within NFL organizations saying every roster spot counts. In order for these teams to go out there and compete and make the millions and billions of dollars they do every single year, they have to round out every single roster spot. I say that to say every single player on every single team is a contributing factor to generating all the revenue for the billion-dollar conglomerate that is the National Football League. But the NFL proves time and time again that the roster spot is all that matters, and as soon as they are not on that roster, they could give a fuck about them. Don't get me wrong, they will take care of those guys that make it to the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. They'll take care of the ones with the bus, with the records. Everyone else is just stuck to find a new life. These guys play football from Pop Warner all the way until they are 30 plus, almost 40. They literally have to find new skills and essentially start all the way over from square one. It's already enough of a toll being in the NFL, but being out of the NFL, I can only imagine, is much, much worse. Just an all-around tragedy. Rest in peace to all the victims. Robert Leslie, age 70. His wife, Barbara Leslie, age 69. Their grandchildren, Ada Leslie, 9 years old, and Noah Leslie, 5 years old. And James Lewis, 38 years old. And lastly, condolences to Alonzo Adams, the father of Philip Adams, who is now left to pick up all the pieces and answer all the questions. They interviewed him and he even said himself, "My son was a good kid. I really think the football messed him up," as well as his agent saying he was a good guy and the neighbors saying he probably needed mental help. Again, these guys dedicate their whole life to make it to the National Football League just for them to be chewed up and spit right back out and left with nothing at the end. Very sad situation, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this. Wondering when the league will step up and take care of their retired athletes, their physical and mental health. I do want to end this video off by saying this is not me blaming the NFL for the deaths of these people. That was done by the gunman, Philip Adams. That's on him. However, we cannot overlook how terribly these guys are doing with their mental health once they leave the league and even while they're in the league. So at some point as fans, we do need to call out the NFL on this, and maybe at some point, maybe even make them feel it in their pockets by just tuning out and watching something else.